everyone. Welcome to another episode of HITSZN. We're so excited that you're joining in. So my name is Erica. I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Nick Henderson. And we're just super excited. It's the new year.
Happy New Year.
I know. Can you believe it?
No, I can't. I can't believe we're in 2025 already, because sometimes the cheer year feels like it's 7 years, but it went by so fast.
It has. And we're already one competition under our belt. We're feeling like good about the new year. We're excited. It's a good time.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible to think about how fast it went and how fast it's about to go. So I'm super excited about today's guest.
Me too. So today's guest is a cheer mom. It's a cheer mom who has had a daughter in cheer for about 9 years. She has been a great influence. She's loving the ideas that are coming out of this new year. We want to talk about the positivity around her daughter and her final season. She's going into her final season this year, and I'm just really excited. So please welcome Heather Durkee.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Heather. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. We're really excited to have you on and to get your perspective and just try to understand from you, like, how and what are things that some people can do. So tell us a little bit about how you were introduced to cheer.
So actually, my sister started in cheer. She did a rec league for a couple years, and then she got into the competitive world. So I kind of followed her and my mom around the country doing all these things. We went to Cheer Sport. Cheer Sport was still around then. Summit didn't exist, so there was no Summit. The end was usually like U.S. finals. So we traveled. We went to D.C. We came to Myrtle Beach, Atlanta, all those places that we all go now. But we started with her. So she did that for about 12 years. And then Gigi started, my daughter. She started cheer when she was about 7 or 8. She did football cheer. But she always wanted to be like her Aunt Kira. So she decided she wanted to try. So we tried out, and here we are 6 years later.
So did you grow up in the South?
No, we grew up near Niagara Falls, New York area.
Oh, wow.
So her gym was in Buffalo. There wasn't a lot of gyms around back then.
Yeah.
It wasn't very saturated up there yet. There's a lot more gyms in the north now than there was then. So she had to travel about 45, 50 minutes to her gym because it was the only gym around.
Wow.
So my mom had to make that drive twice a week and do all that. But we're excited because we actually get to see her gym this weekend in a competition. We haven't seen them ever because they don't come south very often.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see how some of these teams, I mean, geographically, we're not really close, but we are close, right? Like if you think about, we're in North Carolina and New York. I mean, New York is probably what, a 12-hour drive from here?
Where we're from is like 10 hours.
10 hours.
Yeah.
So you think 10 hours, okay. So you've got a gym that's 10 hours away, but we never compete. It's so regionalized.
Yep,
Was
really
it like
is.
that when you...
It's really hard to say because cheer wasn't as big then, in my opinion. It just grew over the years. And Gigi and I were talking about it in the car today, and I was like, cheer has changed so much. What they do now, these athletes, is way higher skills than they ever did 15 years ago. Summit didn't exist. So it's just like U.S. finals and it was done. And so like there was no real big thing. I don't even know. Worlds was existent, but I don't know that it was like as big at that point for like regular American teams. I think it was more like actual Worlds teams. So it was kind of real different back then. And it's just crazy how that is. But we went to DC and stuff like that, but the South they did go to South Carolina. They did do Can-Am. Can-Am existed then.
Oh, Can-Am.
Yeah. So when we moved here, they would fly into Charlotte and then I would drive them to South Carolina. So we did that her final season, her senior year.
Yeah.
She's super seniored, so.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what was it like? You mentioned the girls are getting younger and their skills are getting higher. What
Right.
was it like to kind of watch that progression?
So for my sister, she never learned a back walkover really. Like they kind of just skipped over that. She started a little bit older like Gigi did.
Okay.
She wasn't super young when she started cheer, so she went right into like back handsprings.
Oh, wow.
And she was a flyer to start. She was a petite little girl. But as she got older, she ended up basing. Like it was just very different feel. They weren't as clean, in my opinion, back then. I felt like teams weren't as synchronized.
It was just kind of like a mismatch of take who you got and
Yeah.
try to make it work?
Yeah, it wasn't as competitive in my opinion.
That was going to be my next
Yeah.
question was how was the compete level back then to today?
It's just so much different. Like her senior year, she crossed, she was on a level 4 and a level 4.2. But I see some of the stuff we found some old YouTube videos recently and we were looking and
Oh, fun.
it was just so different, even from what Gigi's doing on her 4.2 team. It's just so different.
You mean 4.2?
Yeah, you're 4.2. Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, I love calling the 4.2. Do you hear how hard that was for me to say?
It was.
I just call them 4.2 teams. I don't know.
I kind of like it now, though.
Yeah, 4.2.
Yeah. He had no idea he was saying it wrong.
I had no clue. I was
Yeah.
so confident in it.
He was.
And then I remember you were like, you know it's 4.2, right? I'm like, what are you talking about? No, it's 4.2. I'm like,
Yep.
no, it's 4.2.
Yeah,
It'll be
4.2. Yeah. Yeah. So just the differences even in just that. She's 31 now. So that was when she was 19 and she was on that. And just watching her 4.2 compared to the 4.2s now is so different. It's just so different. I was telling Gigi, she didn't know on the way here back then, and I don't know if other people do it, but there was competitions where you would go in and you could do an individual performance. So my sister would make up her own routine and do music and do her own performance on the stage. And they did stunts like that too. They would have stunt, like you want to bring your elite stunt and just do a performance with your elite stunt. You did that. They don't do that anymore. I've not seen that anywhere.
That's really, can you imagine the line out the door that would
Right.
be for that today? Because all these girls would be like, move out of my way.
Yeah.
I'm the star of the show.
Yeah,
Here we
so
go.
it's so different. So we did some competitions then. You didn't need a passport to go to Canada. So we did one in Niagara Falls, Ontario every single year. And they would always have some really cool teams up there. So,
That's really interesting. It's funny that to see the progression of everything. So now, you have a daughter in cheer and she's on a 4.2 team. What has been your biggest, you saw a little bit of your sister, you saw Gigi now growing into it. What was it like kind of watching it all come full circle?
it's been kind of hard this year, I think, because she has the end of the season and then next season is her senior year. So cheer may end for us. We don't know what her future holds. She started out on a junior 1 team. We came into the gym. We were trying out for a prep team. That's all we were trying out for. There wasn't going to be a prep team for her age that year. So I got a call from the gym owner. Hey, listen, I'm sorry. There's not going to be a prep team for her age because she was 10 that year. She was turning 11. And so I had to talk about financial commitment, and I knew that it was going to be hard. And we went for it, and she was on junior 1 that year. They were like the underdogs. They literally started out really rough. It was a rough season. Then they were the only team in the gym to get a bid to Summit.
That's
However,
amazing.
that was the year COVID hit.
Oh, womp, womp,
So
womp.
no Summit. So we entered in a virtual US finals, and that wasn't great. So the next year, she got to go to Summit. Most of the girls stayed on the same teams that year. Wasn't a lot, you couldn't get in the gym, you couldn't gain skills.
It's not a lot of movement.
No, not a lot of people moved up or down or anywhere. So they went back in, were J1 again. And they did really well. Summit was still funky. You performed and you had to wait on dots and all these things, you had to, stay safe. And then it was virtual rewards. So we had to go back to our hotel. We all grouped around in the bar area of the hotel and we watched, and they made it to day 2.
That's what an amazing memory though.
And they were all together watching that. And then they went the next day and they ended up, I think it was 4th place. They got 4th place. She's over there pointing at me what place they got. They got 4th place, which was at the point the highest our gym had ever gotten. So it was really cool that those girls got to be together and do that, because now some of those girls are on level 5.
That's amazing.
So it was a really cool thing to watch. And now she's stayed on J2 for 3 years. She grew a lot on that team. Last year, she crossed down on a J1 and was very mature for it, helped the team with that. Kind of was like the mama for a lot of the kids. She was mature. She knew what she was doing. She was confident on that team. But she aged out last year. So that was her last year's junior. So now she has senior. She has 1.5 years left. And here we are, it's the end of her journey almost. So it's kind of bittersweet because I have no idea what I'm going to do. Where am I going to go? I travel all around the world. We're always at the gym. And now it's just all going to end.
It's amazing how much it really plays a part, right? So you think about our kids, and as parents, we do these things for our kids. but then it just turns into something more. And I know we've talked about this on other episodes about like, this is cheer family. And I created that, right? Because you live that and you feel that. And it's one of those things where until you get into it, one day a light bulb goes off and you're like, I get it. And all of the complaining about how much it costs and all the complaining about traveling and all the complaining about scoring and anything that we find room to complain about, and we all do it, we get back home and it's either Sunday night or it's Monday sometime if we're traveling really out of town. And we get home and we lay in our own bed and we just smile because we think that was awesome. Like there was some sort of memory that was made and you can't replace that. So really like how you make the mention of like, what am I going to do? Right. Our daughters are very young in their cheer career. I mean, they have 8+ years, 9+ years left. So the runway for us, we're just taxiing at this point. You know what I mean? Like we're realistically just taxiing away from the jetway and we're getting ready to head to the runway. Whereas you've landed and now you're taxiing to the jetway and you're getting ready to get off this plane. So like as a parent who's invested so much time, so much money, so much effort and blood, sweat, and tears and support for your daughter, like how do you start to process that now? Are you waiting until the day's over to process it? Like what goes through your mind with that?
I don't know. I think there's going to be a lot of tears next season for sure. I think there's going to be a lot of tears for everybody, even her coaches, honestly, because she has had the same coach for almost her entire career at this gym. So I feel like it's like bittersweet, like it's sad. It's like, what do you do after it?
Right.
Like I'm used to being at the gym 3-4 nights a week, usually. You're used to spending all your money at the gym. God, I'm going to be like wealthy. Where's all that money?
It's like those memes that say, if I ever win the lottery, there will be signs.
Right. If cheer ever ends, here's my money back. Yeah. But I can't take away, we have gotten close me and her as daughter and mother because we've traveled together. We've gone through, that was a rough performance, the tears, or that was an amazing performance and tears again. We've gone through injuries. We've gone through it all. I do feel like it's been hard on her body. So I think a break is probably going to be good for her body. But I already said, I was like, can I tag on with some kids and like travel with you guys? I don't know what to do. Like you don't know what to do at that time. And I have a 9-year-old, but he's not in anything competitive yet. We're not at that level. He likes soccer. I know nothing about soccer.
You still got time to convert him over to be a cheer.
I don't think he wants to do that.
Let's keep this going.
But he could, but I don't know. He's not very coordinated. He's more of a gamer. But, I just don't know what to do when it is. I think next season is going to be really, really hard. And not all her friends are graduating. Some are younger than her and stuff. And I do think we'll try to go to the local competition. She wants to go to college close by. So like Spirit of Hope or something like that. Maybe we can go see everybody. But I just don't know how to process it because it's like killing two things. Like you're losing them to go to college and you're losing that gift of going to, these places and bonding. And as you said, like it's family. Like, do my friends stop talking to me when my daughter doesn't cheer anymore? I don't know. Like you have that bond as a parent because you're in the same thing. You're doing the same stuff. Do those friendships go away? It's hard to say, right?
Yeah, I love what you said about, it's you've had time with her, just her. And I think that is what so many parents, we go through that where, especially, so for me, I mostly just have one. But you have, multiple kids and it's trying to balance all of that. And I love that you use cheer for your conduit to have just that really special bond. And I just think that's so important. I would love to pivot away from this very sad before I cry because I'm pretty sure I'm going to cry.
I know. It's hard, right?
It is because it's so close to home.
It is.
Right. Well, for you guys, it seems far away, but the years go so fast.
Yeah. So let's look at something a little happier. Let's talk about like the end of this year. So your daughter made a pretty good jump. We're talking about she was on a level 2 team for quite some time and then went to a 4.2 or 4.2.
Thank you.
What was that like watching her, she'd been level 2, and then the whole you're trying to support her, but it's a big jump. I mean, 2
It
to
is,
4
yeah.
is a big jump stunting wise. What was like that? What was that like for you to support and watch and just continue that bond?
I really wasn't worried about it for her because she is so dedicated. She clearly had a lot to learn with it. A lot more is extension, so it's making sure you have the strength to put your arms all the way up. And for her, it could have been more difficult than it has been because she is the shortest back spot on the team. So being a back spot and being shorter, even though she's normal size height, she's 5'6", could have been difficult. But she made out with the best elite group she could ask for. They come in and they work hard. They have earned their spot, in my opinion, on a level 4 stunting team because they've just worked so hard to get that skill that they needed to be competitive. So for her, I wasn't too worried. She'd been on level 2 so long, it was kind of stagnant at that point. She was ready for the next level. She was ready to do something else. So she was glad that she aged out so that she could get the opportunity to show what I think she could have probably done a little sooner.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that, right? To see how those progressions go. And, for someone who has had an athlete, a daughter that you're so close with, be in the same position year after year after year, it's hard not to be like, okay, well, what's next? Like, how do you progress to the next thing? And, as parents, and we've talked about this as well, as like finding that balance as a parents to be realistic. I think we're going to get a cat. To be realistic, but to also trust the process. And, after year 1 and then year 2 and then going on to year 3, the process seems to not feel like it's something that you can trust because you're like, I want better for her. I want better for him, whatever the case may be. So how do you navigate that, right? Like, how do you support her, but also trust the process?
So she was a little sad that 3rd year that she was making J2. It was a lot because she thought she was ready for it. Her problem is she's not a tumbler. Not everybody can tumble.
Nope.
She started later than some. Tumbling does not come easy to her. She literally hates tumbling. Like she could get by with not tumbling ever again. But we talked about being, a role model and, working hard and still doing great. And she ended up being in the middle for baskets and being in the middle for pyramid and being the middle elite. So she earned that spot that she did, and she was able to be a role model to younger athletes. So I think staying on J2, as much as I think she was ready to move to the next level, she grew a lot as a person. I felt like she just came into her own and was able to guide others because on her J1 team, she's got her little minis that follow her around and love her. And so I think it was good for her. She got to cross. She's never gotten to cross before. So last year, even though she was on J2 again, the opportunity came that they needed a back spot on J1. And I was like, do you want to do that? And she was like, yeah. So we contacted the coach and there she was. She got to do it. So I think as much as she wanted to go on, I think it was good to stay back one more year.
And I love that you were open for that because I think, to your point, it's hard as parents to have that kid that feels like they're ready for more and you want more, but it's hard to be able to support that. And I love what you said about, it's okay that she's not a tumbler and that's okay. And, but she is an amazing back spot or she might be an amazing base. And I think it's so important for us as parents to be able to support that of, you may not be the best tumbler on the mat, but you can go out there and be an amazing back spot or you can go out there and be an amazing base. And I think that is super, super important when it comes to just, holistically looking at the team. She got to be a role model and that's amazing.
Obviously we've got these athletes out here that are working their tails off, but I think there's this whole level of, I don't know the word I'm looking for, but difficulty being the parent of that because you're their biggest advocate. You're their biggest, no pun intended, cheerleader. And so sometimes we think that there is more out there for them than they even desire, that they even think that they're capable of, that they even maybe want. And sometimes I feel like as parents, we push too much, but finding that right balance to be like, keep going, because you don't want to settle, keep going. But you have to know within your bounds. So switching gears for a minute. So you've got a year and a half left. What has been one of your favorite memories leading up into this year and a half left?
Gosh.
I know there's probably a ton.
Yeah,
But what are a couple that come to mind?
we just enjoy having time at Summit. I feel like Summit's like a different competition. You get to hang out for like multiple days, and I feel like you bond more with the parents and the kids because you're not having to rush. We always stay at the team hotel, and the kids all run around and hang out, and the parents all hang out. And I feel like all of our Summit memories are probably going to be the best that we've had just because it's just so different. You're there for 5 days. You get to just be normal kind of and not rush around as much. So I really do enjoy like those competitions that do it. And then honestly, last year was probably her best season because on 2 of her teams, she won Spirit of Hope, which was one of her bucket lists.
Amazing.
And then her junior one somehow, amazingly, pulled out a cheer sport win, which our gym has only had 3, I believe, in their history.
That was wild.
So I will say that was probably the most emotional I've ever been. Like Summit is great, but winning cheer sport, something about winning cheer sport, every parent on that team was just sobbing. It was very, very emotional going to pick out a ring and, deciding what you're going to put on it and, getting that jacket going on stage. I think they were all stunned. I don't think they knew how to react. Like they all just kind of stood there. Like all these other teams were like cheering and stuff on the stage and they all just kind of like stood for the camera and I don't think they knew what they were doing. Like I think it was just so, surreal for them.
But what an amazing moment as a mom to just be like, oh my gosh, this hard work. Because I think as a mom, we see, and as a dad too, we see all the behind the scenes. The coaches, they see what is put on that gym. Or the other parents, they see what's at the gym. But we see the crying on the car rides home because they didn't hit their stunt. Gosh, yes. Or the emotion of, oh my gosh, I've been trying to hit that stunt and now I have. And so there's so much that we see behind the scenes that I think we're the only ones who are able to see that. And so what an incredible moment and memory to have. So this is our daughter's very first summit. We are going to experience it together and
the only real like taste of that, which is probably minute, is regional. Which when you were talking about how like getting together with the parents and staying together and that stuff, regional summit was very much like that. Did you guys ever experience? You guys never experienced regional summit?
No, it didn't exist until a few years ago. So just kind of popped up out of nowhere.
Hashtag varsity.
Yes, good times. But no, we never had regional summit. Since Gigi's been in competitive cheer, it's only been summit.
Yeah, we've had great experiences. I mean. Regional Summit is a different breed. It is very interesting to see, the competition that may or may not be there. But that's it. Like you take this big population of the gym that you're used to traveling with all around, and then it's just, and it's like, okay, my friend group or the people I'm used to seeing went from 600 to 52. Like It becomes very, very small. So that's been really, really cool to experience, but we're really excited for Summit this year. I'm a huge Disney fan, for those of you who have not figured that out yet. So it's like 2 of my new favorite things. Like I love Disney and I love cheer. And so it's just going to be so much fun to just be completely swallowed in that.
Yeah, it's a little different at Summit because the times can be so all over the place. And like sometimes they're so close and there's so many different buildings. You're running from one side to the next trying to see teams. We ended up sitting in the wrong arena. Was it 2 years ago? We were supposed to be watching one of our teams, and we ended up getting there on time. But we ended up watching a phenomenal gym that I didn't even know existed, and it was Rival. And their J4 that year was just amazing. And we just stumbled upon it. We were in the wrong arena, and we stumbled upon it. And now I like love following their gym because they're just amazing. So I was like, it's kind of cool because you get to see so many different routines and gyms that you never see because they come from California or they come from wherever. We're used to seeing like regional. We're used to seeing like the same teams over and over again. When you go to Summit, it's totally different.
Yeah, we've got an ambassador, and that's something that I want to dive into in a second because Gigi's obviously an ambassador for HITSZN Media. But we have an ambassador who is in Canada. Her name's Kenzie, and I've talked about her a couple times on the podcast just because I don't think people realize, and I did not realize until I really got a chance to talk with her and her parents, Canadian cheer and American cheer are totally different. The level of compete in Canada versus the level of compete in the United States, from what I'm being told, is drastically different. When they come to the United States to compete against our American teams, they typically have a harder time, is what she has said. They have to fight 3 times as hard just to get a bid to come to the United States to be able to compete. And once they get here, now someone's probably going to slam me in the comments, but I don't remember the exact technicality of this, but it's something to the effect of when they came one year, say there was 3 Canadian teams here. Just because, and I'm going to get this wrong, but essentially because even though they had an overall higher score on day 1, but the judges liked the showmanship or something of another team, the other teams from Canada got sent home and that other team got to move forward. And there was some sort of like weird technicality but it was like subjective in some sort that they could move on, and they were not able to move on to day 2 because of it. But her mom was talking to me a lot about it. That still doesn't make sense no matter how many times I say that. A lot about it, about how when they come to the United States, they have a difficult time competing against our teams. She said because the level of compete is just so crazy.
Well, we have the new coach at our gym. He's from Germany, and he has said, like, our cheer is so different from Germany. And I do think when you go in the international, Gigi's never been on an international team, so I don't really know the logistics, but I know only so many from each country can get in.
Yeah.
So, like, it's very different. So, like, if there's already one from Canada, there's no one else from Canada on that level.
Right.
If there's someone from the U.S., none of the other U.S. teams get to go. So there's like a certain threshold. I don't know what it is because, again, she's never been on that kind of team, but we've only had it a few times at the gym, and I never understood it. But I do know it's very different in general because they're more stunt heavy, less tumble heavy.
Yeah, and their score sheet is completely different. So
Yeah.
like instead of based out of like 100, it's like 115 or 120 or something like that. It's like perfect. I just learned for these many years how to read these score sheets, and now I have to read a new one.
Right.
Which is fun fact, in a couple episodes-ish, sometime probably in February, we're having a judge on our podcast, and she is known for being a judge across – what was it, like 4 or 5 different governing bodies?
4 or 5 governing bodies.
Australia.
Is she on TikTok?
Australia. No. Australia and Canada, United States, all these. So I'm really interested to hear, really to understand kind of all that scoring, because I think that's a huge thing, especially as parents. And we're really fortunate.
Yes.
Because our gym is kind enough that they give us score sheets. Right. Let me ask you this. Do you think that is, as a seasoned cheer mom, do you like that, or do you think it's a double-edged sword?
It can go 2 ways, but I do like seeing more about what a score sheet says, because there are some gyms that are very secretive.
100%.
They don't tell their teams their scores.
They never see them.
They never see them unless it's posted somewhere. And if it's not a varsity event, you're never finding it. Varsity at least does do that.
Yes.
But unfortunately, it can be kind of bad too, because your kid can look at it and be like, oh, that was me. I made that mistake. But I do think it helps the team if the coaches go over it with them anyway. So they're going to know anyways. So it's kind of nice for the parents to see, because sometimes we have blinders. We think our team looks amazing, our kids are amazing, and sometimes maybe they're not as good as we think they are.
And then you get the score sheet.
Right.
And the judges are like, that sucked.
But it also is very subject. I mean, we all have
Yes.
talked about the score sheet. It's not like basketball. You get a point, it's a point. In cheer, doesn't matter. Your back handspring might not be as good as you think it is. Or, they may thought that team's routine looked prettier than yours, or it was more fun than yours. And that's very subject, which is kind of the bad part. So you see like where they're like, you had no energy. And we're like, oh my God, that was the best performance in energy ever. And they're like, you were terrible.
Girls are puking off the stage. Like,
So I do like that our gym does show it to us though, because there's so many gyms that just don't.
I agree.
And I don't know why they're hiding it. I think it's kind of silly to hide it. Let the parents see.
I can understand from a parental standpoint, because let's face it, we're all cheer parents. We're a nasty breed
We are.
sometimes. But it just goes back to what we were talking about earlier, like being the biggest advocate for your child and the success of your child. Like there's some sort of sometimes where it's like projection of your success through them. And it's one of those things, and it's really tough to navigate. But yeah, I was curious to see what your thoughts were with score sheets.
I'd love to know, like, from a season, you're you're a seasoned mom. You know kind of what you can read the score sheets ish, as much as they can be read.
Right. Yeah.
What would you, we hear a lot from, okay, we'll never be considered a sport until the score sheets are more easily, I don't know how you want to say.
More definitive.
Yeah, more definitive. They have to have a stronger, like a point is a point, and this is what you get. What would you like to see? Maybe something that is scored that shouldn't be, or something, vice versa. What would you change about it?
One thing I hate, and the kids can't change this, is when they comment on choreography and transitions. The kids don't do that. That's a choreography issue. That is not anything. Those kids can be perfect in their transition. But if the judges don't like it, they're going to give them like a 1.6, out of 2. It's so subject. I think that, and sometimes showmanship, because sometimes you see them being facialing and all of the things, and you see them excited, and then you look at it and you're like, the crowd was crazy. What are they talking about? They said that the showmanship was terrible. And I just feel like those two pieces are so subject to personalities. And I think when you talk to a judge, that's something that she probably will say is that, yeah, it is. It's subject to if I thought that was cool. Because there's some teams that go out there, they score amazing, but they are the most boring team I have ever seen in my entire life.
And I think it goes back to some judges really love clean over creative. And then there's some judges that love creative or creativity over clean. And I think you got to find that fine balance, right? Like, at the end of the day, this is a performance. Would you go to a movie that was beautifully shot and it has all these beautiful pans, but the story sucks? Or would you rather go see a movie where the story is action-packed and it's amazing and it's tearjerker and all this stuff, but the quality is not as good? Like, it's really that fine balance. And I think you really need balance from both sides. Like, you don't want to go out and watch all these bent knees and toes pointed to the sky or wherever on back walkovers and back handsprings where girls are about falling on their noses, but it's fun and it's energetic. It's the same difference of you don't want to go see everything so sterile and so razor sharp, but it's boring and robotic. Like, I think there's a fine line there. It's yeah.
And I think there are some gyms that do that well.
Right.
I think Designer Athletics is an amazing example of somebody who does that well.
Yeah.
They are so clean. They are so sharp. I mean, they are a force to be reckoned with. But they have fun routines where you're like, oh, that's so cool. They did this. So I think there are gyms out there that can do it. But I agree with you. I think we don't see it, so often. I've been there where I've been like, that gym was amazingly clean, but that routine was
so boring.
Yeah. So it is. It's a fine line, but it can be done. There are some incredible gyms out there.
And I think that's what sets them apart, right? And I talk about this. I feel like I talk about these guys or girls, guys and girls. Now you guys already know who I'm talking about on almost every episode. But it's just one of those things where when you see a Lamborghini for the first time, you're like, oh. And when you see a Lamborghini and you're like myself who cannot afford a Lamborghini, you probably never will afford a Lamborghini, you're like, oh, like that is amazing. It's like this allure. It's like this whole out of reach concept. And I always go back to them and I always will keep talking about them. But C4, you've got C4, you've got Blackout, and you've got Senior Elite. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. I am unapologetically not sorry. They bring that wow factor. Like, the best way that I can describe them, and I think I described it that one time we were talking to one of our guests, they put on a show, but it is so precise. Every stunt, every tumble pass is executed in a manner that is just so razor sharp, but this routine is not sterile. They are so comfortable in their skill set that they make it fun. And I think that's where a lot of this kind of goes awry, right? Because you can put the wrong people in the wrong positions, or you can put the wrong people in the right positions. It is a combination of ways to do this. But if you put the right people in the right positions with the right skill set, it's magic.
I agree for sure. There's so many teams that you watch that are like that, but you have to remember too, that talent isn't just from a small pool. They're coming from all the country. They're living with people in that area so that they can be on those teams. And not every gym has that ability to get that type of, athlete that's just pristine in every aspect.
So we actually talked about this with Bird. Remember this? So you have a daughter. She's in her teenage years. How old is she?
16.
16. If she wanted to go cheer somewhere across the country and she was going to stay with a host family for the season, would you let her do it? Because this was something that we brought up. And Bird actually mentioned, he said, if you're 16 or older, I would say go for it. It's good for you. But if you're under 16, I would say no. So now I'm curious to hear from you as a parent with a 16-year-old with a year and a half left. What is she going to do?
And
I mean,
I'd love to
was
know what gym.
Yeah. If it was like her absolute dream, I think I would, but I don't know that I wouldn't have to be there all the time. Like, I'd probably have to go with her, honestly. I don't think I could let her just go. Like, then I don't go to any of the competitions. What? So I don't know. She's never really talked about like a dream team. She's always talked about liking like a, non-tumble team because she does not like tumbling.
Right.
But she's never really specified like a specific team that I think she would go for. She loves Code Black over at Raleigh. Oh. That's like one of her favorite teams, I'm pretty sure, to watch. Plus Jalen, that's over there. Every time we see him at any competition, he will come and take a picture with her every single time. We met him back in his other years of gyms we won't name. And we met him at a clinic and he's always stopped and talked to us. So I think she would love to actually be there, which isn't too far. So it's not like she'd be across the country. She'd be like 4 hours, but but I do think like if it was honestly her dream, we kind of talked about it recently. A couple of the girls at our gym have made stunt teams at their colleges. And if she were to have a place to go, I think she would quote unquote cheer, but stunt somewhere else. I think that her career wouldn't end if she could find the perfect place to do that. She's never liked sideline cheer. She did it for 3 seasons. She did 1 year her freshman year. That is not for her.
Yeah. And that's the great thing about cheer, right? There's so many avenues. Mm-hmm. So many. And especially now with you bringing up co-ed stunting is pretty popular.
Yeah. It's getting big, really big. And honestly, I think they forget that you should probably call it one-man stunting because I think females can stunt one human in the air just as much as a man can.
Oh, 100%.
And I don't feel like that's predominantly shown. Like they say, oh, we got to have a co-ed team. We got to have we have this one boy. He's the only one that can do the one man. Absolutely not. I think there are strong girl athletes out there that absolutely can learn to co-ed stunt. But as, just a female.
Like the girl from Encanto. Remember? She lifted that whole...
She sure did.
She lifted that piano.
But you know what? I love that because so my daughter has historically, she's 15 feet tall. So she's historically a back spot. But this year she actually got the experience to base and she is basing like a beast. And it is, for someone who is tiny and skinny, you would look at her and be like, oh, she's back spot. But the amount of strength that she's just getting, just hauling these girls up in the air is incredible. And I agree with you. I think there are so many really strong girls out there that would absolutely kill.
That'd be really cool. Like, because they always say like, oh, do you co-ed or do you all girl? What if we change the narrative to like all girl, one woman? I was like going through the different terms that they use for that stuff, and I'm like, that won't work.
I know,
because
like it's called like a one man, like
right.
But like
one woman.
But what if they're a woman? Yeah,
right,
exactly.
Yeah.
I just think that people just don't remember that girls can be just as strong as the guys. They can learn how to do that. And I always thought like Gigi, because she was historically taller, even though she's the shortest back spot now, I think in the entire gym, besides the little girls. But I think that had they taught her to base 3 years ago, maybe she would be a base right now, but she never learned how to base. Like she based preps at school cheer, but she never really was a base in Allstar. She doesn't like basing, but I think that she could, she has potential that I think she could base. But she's just historically been a back spot. But I think that if we had to make a co-ed team, because we do have one boy at our gym that has to move to senior level next year, it would be cool to see some girls doing the one-mans, not just him. I think that would be a really cool thing.
So I was actually at a stunt clinic. So my daughter is a flyer, and she's like a paperclip. You flick her and you don't know if she's coming back down or not. And we were at a co-ed stunt clinic this weekend. She is like all in on co-ed, and she's been just really driving towards it because there is a lot of opportunity now from a co-ed competitive standpoint for a lot of age groups. And so she's been dialing in hard on that. Well, there was another female there, probably in her teens, and they were like, "Why are you here?" And she was like, "Well, I thought this was co-ed stunting." And they were like, "Yeah, are you a flyer?" And she's like, "No." And they were like, "Do you want to learn how to stunt?" And she was like, "Yeah." And it was magic. It was magic because I was waiting. I kind of sat back in the sidelines to just see how this was going to turn out. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be a perfect, are you a flyer? No, you're not welcome here.
Right.
And we got to stop that.
Yep.
Like the flyers don't float by themselves. And quite honestly, a lot of the flyers won't go up and do certain stunts if they don't trust who's below them.
100%. That is something Gigi has encountered. She's had to get that trust with her flyers. If you don't have trust in what's below you, you could be the best flyer in the world. You're not going to be good if you don't trust them.
100%. It has to be that cohesive relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, we've talked about that is like we have to glamorize these bases and back spots, in front spots, because without them, the flyers are not getting up. So I don't care how great your flyer is. Without that solid group, it is a stunt group. It is not a flyer group.
Absolutely. I mean, you go and you watch a competition. I don't watch the flyer that often. I'm watching my kid. Which you watch, people are always looking up, and it's not, that flyer wouldn't be in the air right now if those people below her didn't have her feet.
And I think it's ingrained in the industry so deep that I've even noticed it from, and you probably have too. My daughter is a base or a back spot. And you know what? How many photos do I get? Do I order photos?
Right.
No, 100%. I sure don't. Because you know what I get of Hayden?
Right. You get nothing. Well, in a back spot, you barely even get that.
Maybe I'll get her little eyeballs from where she's peeking up because all those photographers are trying to do is straight up in the air.
That's 100% true. I looked at our last competition, and Gigi is literally in the front for dance and some other stuff. I was like 2 pictures of her, and I was like, and it was like behind. It wasn't even when she was in the front. And I'm like, what even is this? What are they doing? Like, it was all left side. I'm like, do they not have a right side?
I know. So I wish and my daughter was the same. My daughter is the base and the back spot for she's on 2 different teams, and she is the point flyer she's the point underneath that stunt group for both teams. And both teams, I got maybe a picture and a half of her.
Right.
And so I think from and we can talk about, the photographers need training and all of that, which I do believe is true. And hopefully they are making the right steps. But I think it goes back to that, it's just ingrained in people. And I would love to see so many more people glamorize the entire poor front spots.
Right. They get nothing. They're like the back of them. Right.
Yes. So I think there's so many.
I think that's why what you and Nick are doing with Hit Squad and Hit Zero and everything is you are trying to make sure that it's the whole athlete and not just a flyer and not just this and not just that. And it's all different sizes. Not everybody is a stick. Not everybody is this tiny little human. And I feel like, I know, your child really is like a tiny little human.
I told you she's like a paperclip.
She really is like a paperclip, and she would bounce probably right back up. She's probably more like a ball, like it just would go, But I just feel like people are like, oh, she's a cheerleader, or that person's a cheerleader. They don't look like a cheerleader. And I just think that's where we need to get away from. It doesn't matter what body type you have. I mean, I certainly am not stunting people, but it doesn't matter what they look like. It's about the ethic of their work that they put in and what they learn and what they're doing. It has nothing to do with the look.
What's kind of funny, and you said something that triggered my mind because we were talking about co-ed stunting. How crazy is it that we are okay with a male stunter, 250, 300 pounds, 325 pounds, most likely in collegiate settings, they're football players. Right. So they're big dudes. Now, not all of them are. Some of them are smaller guys, but most of them historically are bigger dudes. Why is that unacceptable if a woman is that size or even a little smaller? Why is that not okay?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, why? And that's something that we've just been really working hard with, and going through that is part of the whole process when I developed Hit Squad was that we have to look at this from a holistic approach. We cannot look at this of what sells, right? Most companies, I will not name names, but most companies, especially the bigger ones, they have their couture stuff and they want to get what looks great on film.
Right.
And that's a mentality that they like to use. And it's not realistic. And it takes a whole group of athletes, both future, present, and prior, that, okay, I don't look like them. I don't act like them. So I can't be one of them. And so going through this whole creating our ambassador program and coming up with Hit Squad, that was really a core value of mine that I wanted to do, is I wanted to make sure that it was all inclusive, but not from an ability of like, you can be a frog and be on the Hit Squad. Like it really is of, we want you to feel important. That's why when I do the Hit Squad, like for those of you who don't know, for the Hit Squad apparel and stuff that we have, only Hit Squad ambassadors can order that apparel. I have it not only, you know, because you have Gigi's Hit Squad member. It is at a secret URL. It is then password protected, and then there's a code you have to use. Like there's these barriers, and it's not to make it be like, whoa, you can't have this. It's because I want all of these athletes to feel so important about what they're doing, because they're not getting that in the general realm of cheer. And that's something that we have to change.
Well, we talked about this off the podcast, but sizing. Not all the companies, even though they say they're like a 2XL, it doesn't fit like a 2XL. You know, it's tight, it's uncomfortable, it doesn't fit them right. You know, you're always worried when you get your uniform. Is this uniform going to fit them the proper way?
And never mind, you're at the gym and everybody gets their uniforms or everybody gets their practice wear at the same time. And what do they naturally do? They're excited. So they run to the bathroom and they try it on. How terrible is it to be singled out in front of all your friends because yours doesn't fit, yours is too tight, yours is too big, whatever the case may be.
Right. Right. And it's just, it's not inclusiveness. Whereas we, you know, when we ordered Gigi stuff for the Hit Squad, it all fit her great because you picked companies that made her feel like she could wear it. Like she's not a tiny little stick human. Like she's a normal size human, and it fit her and she feels comfortable wearing it. And I just feel like more companies need to get on that. You know, we talked about like some of the sports bras don't fit like they should. Like not every girl is flat. They have chests. Like, Lord have mercy, they're girls. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
And it just makes them feel like they're different because they have a chest, or it doesn't fit them the way it should, or the band is too tight in their stomach, or whatever it is. And I feel like we need to get away from that. Like make the sizes fit these kids. You go to a competition and you ask for a size, and sometimes they don't even have that size.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, as a business owner, it's very difficult. That is a difficult process. And I spent a ton of time, we both spent a ton of time trying to find what this looks like. Because believe it or not, and I will have you known, that some companies will charge 3 times the amount for the garment because it is a 2X instead of a large. And okay, so so I could go ahead and say, okay, fine. Yep, we can get 2XL, 3XL, 5XL, whatever the case may be, or, you know, extra small or 2X small or whatever the case may be. But I have to charge you more.
Right.
Okay, so now what I've done now is I've completely singled you out, basically saying, because you don't weigh within this range, you have to pay more. Like, you just can't do stuff like that. And it's hard. It takes a lot of work. I am here to tell you, it takes a lot of work to find suppliers that could be like, can you provide us this?
Right.
And we had some struggles in the beginning of that, but it's just so important. And when your core values are as important to you as they are for myself, you don't stop, right? Like you just keep going. We ran into that issue several times with clothing, and it was a nightmare. And we just continued to try to kind of push forward and see. But with with Hit Squad, it's been really neat, and I'm hoping that maybe you can talk more about this. So we have these athletes that are all shapes and sizes across the whole Hit Squad, and I feel like I did a pretty good job of the selection process. This wasn't just a process. Guide us through the process from your perspective, from the minute of hearing about the hearing about the Hit Squad up until being selected for Gigi.
So she had to fill out her own application. She had to stop and think about what words she wanted to use on it. she applied, and then you were actually traveling that week that you interviewed Gigi.
Oh, that's right, I was.
So we were not on like FaceTime because you were literally in the car with all of your children and everything. So
That's right. I did just call you guys on the road.
So we were called on speakerphone, and I mean, you asked her questions like, "Why do you want to be on this?" And what you knew her outside of it, so it was a little bit different because we had different conversations. But you wanted to make sure that you picked people that met your core values. And I will say from the get-go, all the girls in the group chat, she showed me some stuff here and there. They're all so nice to each other. They're excited to meet each other. You had picked another Hit Squad member from Buffalo that Gigi and her were babies together and haven't actually seen each other in about 5 or 6 years. So it's like cool that they all kind of get to know it. We all follow Kenzie now because Kenzie's just an amazing little thing.
She's a vibe.
She's all over the place, and she, it's really cool. You have someone from Canada, you have different shapes, sizes, different states, and they don't know each other. Gigi actually has one of them, goes to her school, but she didn't know her. And then they happened to be at the parade for our gym, and she got into a picture with them, and Gigi's like, hey, so she, she's seen her at school now. So it's like so different. Like, she would have never probably talked to her had it been the Hit Squad, and you talked about core values and stuff. And this year, Gigi has come to work with me. I work with special needs adults, and one of my coworkers has been wanting to start a cheer team for Special Olympics. So Gigi is now coaching Special Olympics athletes. Our athletes right now range from 17 to 58. So imagine that, 17 to 58 special needs adults.
So is that considered a senior open team?
So in Special Olympics, you can be any age, 8 to whatever.
I love it.
So Special Olympics starts at 8 years old, and you can be 90 years old if you want to be on the team. We actually watched some old videos on YouTube. We were searching because we were like, what do we do with this team? I'm helping. I'm volunteering with her. And right now they're working on chants because they are going to cheer at a first responders football game. It's a fundraiser for them.
That's amazing.
Because Special Olympics athletes in any place do not pay a cent. So we rely 100% on fundraising. And, it's Christmas time. And nobody has any money. So it's really, really hard, but we have worked with Rebel, and they're working with us to come in and size the girls next week. And we have 2 guys on our team, so they will also size our 2 guys on the team. And it's been really rewarding for her. She loves coming every week, seeing them. They hug her, they high five her. It's the sweetest thing you could ever be. And you can't put a price on that. That's something that's just really awesome. I've always had a heart for special needs. So it's cool to see that my daughter now does.
Yeah.
And it's really cool to watch.
Yeah.
And had I not gotten this job, we wouldn't have known about it.
It's like the right place at the right time. So for any of you that are watching, I know we've got a pretty good viewership. So HITSZN Media and this Cheerabilities team, we've known about it for a little bit now. We're going to be doing a fundraiser of our own to try to help offset some of the costs for the Rebel uniforms. So make sure you put down in the comments, follow us at HITSZN Media on Instagram for the latest and greatest in our stories and in our posts. We're going to be posting something shortly after this episode goes live. So if you feel so inclined that you want to donate, we'll have a link set up so all of that can go to the Cheerabilities team because, again, we just firmly believe that everybody deserves to have a stage to stand on. I love filming Cheerabilities teams, the amount of joy, because let's face it, cheerleading in an all-star realm is a privilege. It is a privileged sport. I don't care who you are and what you say, it is a privileged sport. It costs upwards of $20,000 a year for a season. It is the who's and the what's and who's you going to get this shirt and who's going to get that shirt. And are you going to buy the flipping $287 million glamorized duck at the competition? It's absolutely insane. People, it's just crazy. But at the end of the day, everybody deserves a stage to be on. And it doesn't matter if you're big, small, wealthy, poor, have mental health issues, have physical health issues, you deserve a stage to be on. And so that's something that we firmly believe on. So we really want to make sure that we can kind of help with this. And so we'll be putting up some stuff for all of you that are watching to help fundraise and to hopefully help get them some uniforms. So if you feel so inclined, make sure you do that. So I'm really glad that you brought that up because we just, it's so awesome. Like it's just so awesome.
It's been fun to watch because they all came from different backgrounds. None of them have cheered. Lake Norman Special Olympics has never had a cheer team. So it's very new. So we've watched videos of other teams that do this because it's a little different with Special Olympics. You kind of have to do like a little chant with a little music, but the music can't be a mashup. Like there's a lot of rules to it.
Are there regulations with it?
There are.
Interesting.
So like we're going in now. I feel like we're like a 1.1 or something. So like it's very weird, but we can't go higher than our hips, which is hard. I will actually be on stage. One of my special friends needs a little help. So I will be on stage when they compete at state in June. It'll be in Raleigh. So we get to kind of do that. So, there's different abilities that they each can do. And we're kind of still learning that. Forward rolls were really fun. Let me just say, there's a lot of things happening when we were trying to teach them forward rolls, and but they're learning jumps and they're learning even just our warm-ups. A lot of them had no idea how to do stretching and warm-ups and stuff like that. So it's been really great, and I feel like it's been really fun for them because it's something new. A lot of them do a lot of sports because Special Olympics is just, it's free for them. It's something for them to do. A lot of them are adults and this is all they've got. A lot of them can't live on their own. They can't do this and that. So it's been really rewarding. And it's something we look forward to each week is going to the practice. And we only do an hour. We can't do more than that right now. It's a lot for them. So it's been really fun. And I just don't think people realize Gigi and I will run. If there's a special needs team going on that stage at a competition, we will be the first ones to get in line and go cheer them on because they are such special people. They really are.
And I think it's just part of it is the joy that they get in this. You watch them up on that stage and they're not, sometimes the teams come off and they're upset because they had a bent knee or they had a fall, but they're just so happy just to be there.
Yep.
And I think that is where it's so special to really have that connection to introduce them to a sport that they might not have had an opportunity to be with or be a part of or even knew existed. So I think that's so phenomenal.
Well, we've even talked about it because my sister's gym in Buffalo, they've had for years a cheer abilities team, and they've had people in wheelchairs. It doesn't matter what you have. You can stunt off that wheelchair. Like, it's the coolest thing. And I actually just saw a TikTok the other day where there was a guy sitting in a wheelchair and he full on stunted a full-size girl.
That's amazing.
It was the most cool thing I have ever seen. Like, it was so, so awesome. I just think there's so much more that they can do. And I feel like we need to be there for them. Someone needs to believe in them. And they are so happy. They have no idea if they're doing bad. They're just doing it.
Showing up. So let me ask you this question. And it's probably two-folded, but the joy factor, right? Who do you think gets more joy out of this?
Honestly, I think I do. Like me and like the people that help them, I'm telling you, it has been the most rewarding job I've ever had because I work with them on a daily basis in a day hab program. But just watching them, like today, when they were done doing their chants, they're high-fiving us and they're happy. But like seeing them happy actually makes you happier, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like you're making a difference and you're helping somebody. And I'm telling you, they give the best hugs, the literal best hugs.
Do you think it puts in perspective, like when you go to a cheer comp and things aren't going as well? Do you try to recollect those memories and those hugs and the joy and the high fives? Does that help bring you back down to like, this doesn't really matter?
It should. I think in the moment it probably doesn't, but when you look back and reflect, like that fall that just happened or that mess up that just happened, they're kids in retrospect. Like we sometimes forget that these athletes are all children.
Kids.
They're literal kids. The only ones that are adults are literally world's athletes.
And some of them are like tiny kids.
Right. And I think we forget that sometimes. You want to win. You want to be the team that's winning. You want to be the team that's doing well. You want to do that. And you forget sometimes. You get wrapped up in summit bids and this and that, and you forget sometimes that they're people. When you're leaving and they're crying because it was just such a bad performance, or you're leaving happy and you're like, oh, but then you see a team that didn't do so great, And that's where I would say I've seen Gigi myself be like, tell every single person good luck. Doesn't matter if they're against her. She will walk down an aisle and be like, good luck, good luck, good luck. Sometimes they give her weird looks. But you know what? She's still doing that. And I will say there was a team that was a special needs team at the Concord competition. I think it was last year. And as they came off, Gigi high-fived and said, good job to every one of them. So that's like, you know, more people need to do that.
It's important. And we talk about that. We talk about that integrity factor of doing the right things. There's so many times, and I'm sure you've heard it as well, and I know you have. It's like you hear people think, oh, I hope she falls.
Right.
Like, just have good integrity. And that was something that's really important to me with Hit Zero Media and this ambassador program is doing the right thing when no one's watching. Right. And that's hard, especially when a ring's on the line and a jacket's on the line, or in Gigi's case, a ring and a jacket's on the line. You know, she's going to need like a whole new closet from all these jackets that she's winning. You know, it's one of those things, but having the good integrity to be able to say, hey, you know, I know you're my teammate and I love you as a teammate, but what you're saying is wrong.
Yeah.
Like this is not how we conduct ourselves.
And I think it's the leadership that goes in with that as well. You know, it's being able to set yourself apart, whether it's, you know, as a good human or as a Hit Squad ambassador. You know, you have to be able to set yourself apart to be like, you know, that we need to change the way we're doing. And that can be hard, especially when they're backstage or you're looking, you know, to the next competition. And it's definitely hard, but I agree. It's something that's so important.
I think they have to realize, like, you want the other people you're competing against to do good. Like, you do want them to do good because you don't want to win because they fell. You want to win because you were better than them and you worked hard and you did it. You don't want to win because that person fell. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, and you don't want to say, like, I have heard people in the audience say, oh yeah, she fell. Yes, yes. Or, oh, I hope they fall, or I hope they, you know, mess this up, or, you know, and you don't want to hear that. And other people hear it if you hear it. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that's where integrity comes in. You know, you have to make sure you're trying your best not to say
things. And especially because at the competitions, 9 times out of 10, you're wearing your gym's logo on you at some point.
Absolutely.
And
Bingo.
there have been so many times that I've been like, oh, they're a nasty gym, because I hear somebody behind me. And then immediately that's where my mind goes, because if somebody behind me is talking, to your point, and I turn around and I see, bam, their logo is right there in my face, I'm going to immediately think, God, that's a nasty gym. Because it is. It's a direct reflection of the gym.
Right.
And I agree with you. I believe that you have to be able to compete against the best to be the best. And I think that goes into a lot of different areas.
Right. I will say one thing about our gym that I really, really love is no matter what place we get, they clap for the first place team in every award ceremony. There has been some teaching moments when there has been new people in our gym that don't understand that. Gigi has had to make those teaching moments. But I just feel like it's so important. Just because you didn't win doesn't mean you shouldn't clap for the people that do win.
And they're
100%.
trying just as hard. You might feel like, oh God, I want it so bad. But you know what? I promise you, they're in that next circle saying the exact same thing. They want it just as bad as you do. So yeah, absolutely. I think that's.
I always tell the kids, especially Zoe, who is the cheerleader. I always tell her, to be a great winner, you have to be a better loser. And it's really true. You have to show, because you're not always on the winning side. You're not always on the losing side. Sometimes you're in the middle. I almost said middle side, but that's not really a side. But sometimes you're in the middle, and sometimes you didn't get last place, but sometimes you didn't win. And I think those moments become sweeter. I remember last year we were at Cheersport. We did not, unfortunately, have the W like you guys did. But I will tell you, we went into day one, and I'm making these numbers up because I don't remember the exact numbers, and so correct me if you have them. We were going in at the end of day one. This was a Y2 team. We were like, I don't even know, 6 out of.
I think we were 5th, 4th, 5th, 6th, somewhere in there. We were high up. We were not making podium. We were high up.
I think we were like 6th.
I think we were 6th.
Out of like 23 teams. There were 27 teams. There were three, what are they called? 3 divisions.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about, where it's one Y2 division. A, B, and C. So coming out of day one, we're like sixth place out of all of these teams. And I'm like, that's really awesome. And I'm like, all right, let's see what day 2. Day 2, they go and they crush it. You know, it's the typical day 1 jitters. Day 2, they crush it and they change some things. And we're like, all right, cool. I think we're going to hold, or maybe we'll get like 5th. We're sitting in awards. I will never forget. This is one of my favorite cheer memories for that team.
Oh, absolutely.
We're sitting in awards. We're all sitting together, and they start with 10th, 9th, 8th, 7th, and we get to 6th, and we're like, 6th place, and they don't announce her name. We're like, okay, we must have did it. We got 5th place. 5th place, not our team. We're like,
And at this point, we are like holding our breath.
we're like, this is amazing. They got 4th place, like 3rd, 2nd, and 1st. Like we didn't even, never crossed our mind. 4th place, they announced it, not our team. And we all looked at each other and we're like, and then they announced 3rd place. And I will tell you right now, because I heard 2nd place and I heard 1st place announced as well, we were the loudest people in that entire award ceremony. And I was crying. Multiple people were crying because to be, first of all, youth 2 teams, you all know, like, it's like herding cats sometimes.
Yep.
It's that in-between part of like prep in youth where it's like, yeah, I'm kind of serious. This is fun. My mom made me do this. Like you just get this melting pot of like all these different like athletic abilities and like showmanship or whatever, like dedication to the sport. And so you just never know what you're going to get. And so all of a sudden we're like, you have got to be kidding me. Like that, it was so amazing. And there were people, do you remember this? Yeah. There was a team behind us and they looked at us and they were so confused. They're just looking at us like,
why are you happy
do
to
these
be third?
dingbats know that they announced 3rd place?
Right.
Like what?
I'm pretty sure I remember some of the parents talking to me about this. You know, we were not on a Y team ever because she kind of just got stuck quickly. There was no Y team to have.
Yeah.
And so I remember I think you guys were earlier in the day than us. So I remember we had some youth crossovers on her J1 team. So I remember the parents telling me like, oh my God, this was the most amazing thing. Like they were just so happy. And you can be happy getting that. When Gigi's team got 5th place last year on J2 after literally 18th and 13th the previous year, we were cheering. Like it was amazing because most of those kids stayed together. You know, a lot of them were together for all 3 seasons. So when they got 5th, it was like we were screaming like crazy people. And I'm sure people were looking at us too. You have to, not every team's going to win first. And you're not going to win first at every competition. And I think people forget that. Like you don't want to be last all the time, but you also have to realize there are going to be better teams. And like us, we're going to a different region. We have no idea what's going to happen this weekend. Because we're going to a totally different region.
Except snow.
Snow.
It's going to snow.
Snow is happening.
Snow is happening. Maybe some ice. Lots of coldness.
Oh, so much coldness.
And I hear don't go to the Starbucks there. Not good.
Yeah, I heard that too.
I did hear that.
I saw on one of the cheer pages, and I quote, there's a Starbucks in the convention center, but just pretend it doesn't exist.
Yes, I saw that same thing. That's what they said.
Just pretend it just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm excited. It'll be, as much as we all complain about going to all these different places or whatever, once you get, and this is something that I want to ask, and then I want to move into our questions that hit hard.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. As you continue on with these seasons, right? What are some tips that you would give other moms, other dads, other sets of parents, grandparents, whatever? What are things that you've learned along the way that you feel like, I wish I would have known that season 1? I wish I would have known that season 4.
Right.
Like, what are some things, like, let's do this. What are your top 5 tips that you could give to parents, a parent, grandparent, whatever, to prepare them or to give them a piece of wisdom for this crazy cheer season?
First, pack snacks. The snacks are ridiculously priced and they're hungry at the most random times. The hotel is too expensive to buy the snacks at. Just bring the snacks. Bring the water. Why are you spending $17 on a bottle of water? There's no reason to do that. Bring water, bring snacks, because there's no reason to spend. She's allowed like one thing, which her thing is frozen lemonade. She gets a frozen lemonade. There is no 10 pounds of chicken nuggets and pizzas and all the things. We get one thing. You're either eating that frozen thingy or you're not getting nothing.
And you better drink the whole thing.
Right. The whole thing better be gone because
eat the cup.
There's no way. Because this stuff it's just too overpriced.
Yep.
And we all know that the sport is way too expensive. We also, I know not everybody agrees to this, but we buy a t-shirt at least at every single competition because when she's done next year, I'm going to send it to somebody and make her a quilt so that she has a quilt of her memories of all the t-shirts. My mom did that for my sister and my aunt made it. So my sister has a quilt of different cheer shirts through the years, different things that she got at events. So we make a point to buy at least one product that says where they were.
Is your sister's quilt like the size of Rhode Island?
No, hers isn't too
With her
big
gear?
because it wasn't as big to buy the gear as much then. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's more of a sale point now than it was then. There wasn't as many options.
Cha-ching!
You know, like there was like a bow and some shorts and some sweatpants or something, but there wasn't all of these options all the time. So that's another tip. I know it's expensive, and I think they've gone up to like $35 for a t-shirt. I think when we started, it was like $20.
Do you remember at Cheer Regional Sport? Regional Sport. They're all blending together. Do you remember at Regional Summit last year when we went to the shop together? And
yes.
the sweatshirt, it was like a sweatshirt. It's like the size of a handkerchief because all these little kids are like so tiny. And it was like $72 or something. I'm like, okay, I'll buy it.
Yeah, exactly.
I love your idea because we're doing the same thing. Last year we did all of the comps that we have a typical, just like I'm sure every gym does, have kind of a typical comp
Tour.
Tour. And then, we did the extra ones. So we're doing a couple extra ones last year. We did a couple extra ones this year. And so we did the same thing. The first year we went and got all the tour shirts of the normal ones we go to. And then every year we just only go. So this year it's, 2 of them, I think, that we're buying. Yep, just two. So we'll go and get the actual gym specific one. And I love your idea of the blanket.
Yeah, I just think it's cool. Like we've even saved stuff. I probably have MYA when she did football cheer. I probably have that too. Who knows? I have like a bag in the garage of all these shirts that she's grown out of. Tip 3, when you go to Summit, go as early as you can, probably as soon as they're going to put those pins out, and get your pin. Your Summit pin will be gone. There is people that didn't even get the pin. In Cheer Sport too, they run out. And this year, I think they're charging for you to go on Friday. So good luck with that. But they run out of the pins.
Yes.
All these people are crazy and buy all these pins. I don't know what they do with all these pins. They must sell them somewhere. I don't know.
I have my Cheer Sport pin over here. Gigi, can you hand that to me?
Yeah, you've got to get the pins
The
early.
finalist pin, right?
Well, not even. Last year, they ran out of the regular pin at Summit. Oh, there's this Cheer Sport pin.
Yep. So there's
It's
the
one of
Cheer
my
Sport pin.
favorites.
It's going to be so tiny on this screen, but
Oh, yeah.
Last year was a guitar,
that was
right?
upside down. Dang it. Yep. So I keep this at my desk. Most people would be like, "Why do you have a cheer desk?" But I edit so much cheer footage that I keep my thing right here. So I have that, and then I have. Is that the Cheer Sport medal I have over there? No, that's Regional Summit. I have the Regional Summit medal over there. It gives me good inspiration. Thanks for bringing that to me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what happens to these pins. I don't think varsity orders enough pins or something. Like, they know how many children
know
are coming
how
to
many,
these
yes.
competitions. So that's another thing. Like, if you're going to go to Summit and also Cheer Sport, you got to get the pins early. You have to go on Friday night, or Summit's a little weird. Sometimes they'll release it on Thursday, but sometimes they won't. But you have to remember the international teams are competing Thursday and Friday. They go quick.
Yep.
You get there on Saturday, there may not be any pins left.
Nope.
Let's see. I'm an overpacker. I don't know about everybody else, but I make sure she has all of her cheer gear. I double check. She gets mad at me now because she's 16, and I'm like, "Do you have your shoes?" Because there was a competition this year that somebody forgot their shoes.
Do you have a left and a right shoe?
Well,
Because I've done that before. Well, no, I haven't. But Zoe
luckily
has.
she's smart enough that she hasn't done that yet. But literally, like, I basically tell her I double check the uniform and anything else we can buy. But we are overpackers because you never know. Like this weekend, I'm like, how many pairs of socks should I pack? Some people are like very minimal. But what if something happens?
Right.
I'm an overpacker.
I am that minimalist.
I am minimal too. Like, it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
like certain things, to your point, you can buy.
Yeah.
Right. But like, you're not going to buy a uniform top.
Right.
You're not going to buy a bow. You could probably borrow a bow from a team that's already gone.
Which has happened.
Right.
Usually the coaches have at least one extra that they sort of carry around.
I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah. No, you don't want to. I get the text sometimes because people are afraid to ask if the coach has it.
Right.
Yeah. I get the, hey, can we borrow your bow? I think that cap happened for you, literally, to this year.
Yes.
I got a message.
Yes, it did.
Yeah,
Yep. We
yeah,
could not find
so-
Zoe's bow for showcase. And so we reached out to Heather, and she was gracious enough to let us borrow it, but we didn't need to. We just bought another one.
You spot another one.
Super
Yeah.
excited about that, but
So
you know
yeah,
what, whatever.
make sure you have all that uniform packed. And honestly, make sure you have certain things like makeup wipes. You don't think about it in the moment, but that lipstick is terrible. And we just recently found, I always say it wrong, micellar water. because that's what she uses to remove her eye makeup. But I just found a wipe form of it. And now she'll be able to take her lipstick off as soon as she gets off the stage.
Okay, so after we're done filming, you need to like send us a link or something.
Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, those are my tips. I definitely don't know. I don't know. I kind of just go wing it. I overpack. I mean, people laugh at me when I come in with my 3 suitcases, but I have something if you need it. I have a barrette or
You're
a bobby
that girl.
pin or scissors. We carry scissors because I've told you we zip tie hair. That's the other thing. Zip tie.
5.
Tip 5. Zip tie your bow to your hair. So we do a hair tie, the bow, a hair tie, and then I put a zip tie through all of it and trim it. And her bow has never moved. And then we pin it in the front. Especially for flyers. That stuff starts flopping.
Oh, and by the end of the routine, the bow's like this.
Yep. It looks awful. Just pin the bow.
Yep.
Pin the bow, zip tie it. It would not hurt them. I may have cut a few strands here and there of her hair, but she's lived.
Whatever.
You know, it's just hair.
I love that idea. I've never thought about it. So I will say I have seen some teams that they have their flyers have their hair in buns, like on the higher levels where you're kind of doing the inversion, which I think is so smart because like I wouldn't, if I was a base or a back spot, I don't want somebody's hair up in my face.
Yeah.
But I love that idea for like just anybody just zip tying it. I have my own routine with Hayden, so I can completely agree with that.
Yeah. I think you just have to get in the routine of what you do. But she does her own makeup. Make your kid learn how to do their own makeup because it saves your life and you don't have, I can sleep an extra half hour.
Or teach the dads. I've done
Oh
Zoe's
yeah, I
makeup
know.
before.
I've seen your videos of your makeup.
It's not bad. I might have to do a episode of showing everybody how to do it.
Yeah.
I think that's an
So
option for me.
All right. So every episode of Hit Season, we have this section called Questions That Hit Hard. And it's typically topics that we don't tell people about. And we just want to get an off the cuff, straight answer.
you're scaring me now.
Yep. You're looking at me like, oh no, she's processing all the different things that I could
because I
ask.
didn't get any okays on this.
So we'll do a couple questions here and there. So usually we'll have Erica start off. And I don't want you to put any thought into it. Just the first thing that you think of.
Okay.
Not including Summit. Favorite competition.
Dang it, you took mine.
It sounds weird, but Spirit of Hope, I know it's like local for us, but there's something about being local, but still having a bigger competition and like knowing most of the teams. I really do like Spirit of Hope a lot. Cheer Sport is up there, but that one just stresses me out. There's just too many people.
What is the first part of the score sheet you look at first?
I look at deductions first. I look at score and then deductions to see did we hit 0, did we not? And then I start scanning. I'm one of those, as soon as it is sent to me, I will probably stop what I'm doing and start zooming.
That's hysterical. So Gigi's not on the floor. You're watching your dream team. What side of the stage are you standing on?
If I'm watching the dream team, probably the middle somewhere, and I don't go in the front. You can't see anything in the front. You have to step back. I typically don't even go. Like if it's one of those big teams, I will stand in the back so I can see it. Like when we had Cheer Extreme was at Gatlinburg and they've never been. Do you know how cool it was to watch them so close? Because usually it's like Cheer Sport that we see them. You can't see anything. That arena is so full. You're so far back. And I just sat in my seat and watched them. And it was the coolest thing. It's better to watch from afar. You see it all.
If you were to get the opportunity to be a team mom for any team in the country, it doesn't have to be at the gym that you're at now. It could be at any team on any of the country for one season. What team would it be?
I really like Spirit of Texas. I think it would be one of their teams. They are really fun to watch. And there is a guy that I follow on TikTok. He is such a supporter of his daughter, and she's at Spirit of Texas this year. And I think I will find him at Cheer Sport again because he is that cool. But there is a girl that is on, I think she's on Royalty, I think it's called. That team's kind of fun to watch. So I think I would like to be a team mom at like Spirit of Texas. Texas does it so different than us.
So you're in your team mom outfit, or not your team mom outfit, your cheer mom outfit. Are you all blinged out or is it very minimal?
Bling. I have double bling for this weekend, so... I have an old bling shirt that I got at the end of the season last year, and then I have a new bling shirt. So very blinged out.
Are you bringing a blinged out sled?
We probably need one.
That would be amazing.
Do we even have sleds in our state?
Probably not.
Probably not. We'll have to buy one when we're like crossing up.
Yeah.
Probably not. Okay, last question, and I have to go back because I'm an emotional kind of guy, so I'm sorry.
No.
What do you think you're going to say to Gigi the last time she walks off the stage?
I don't think we'll be able to talk. I think we'll both be crying. I don't think there's going to be anything to say.
Because most likely that'll be Summit.
Yeah, Summit next year.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be an emotional ride. I need to find somebody that's going to be on that ride with me because it is going to be a tough year. I probably will cry at every comp. I'm getting teary just talking about it because it's like a end, like you don't know what's next.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird. I mean, we've only actually been in All-Star for 6 years, but
feels like eternity.
It feels eternity. Yeah. And you just don't know. Like my husband will probably be happy I'll be home more, but I won't be in Gatlinburg on his birthday after the air. Yeah.
There will be signs.
But
he'll be like, look, Heather, look what I got. Honk, honk, brand new Corvette.
Yeah. Who knows what's going to happen when we have 15 grand extra.
Yeah.
I just think it'll be a really bittersweet thing. I think it'll be really emotional. Watching the seniors from our gym last year was very emotional because I have watched their journey for a long time. So that was very emotional. But I'm actually excited to see one of them made a world's team in a different state where her college is. So we get to see her kind of shine this year on a world's team and compete again. I don't know if she knew she would compete again like that. So
it's pretty wild. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We're really excited to have you and had this opportunity to chat with you, and a seasoned veteran, not only to the sport, but as a parent and supporter and all that fun stuff. So this has been a lot of fun.
It has. I really appreciate, we are very, young to the sport, and I appreciate your vulnerability and your transparency. And I think it just makes us more excited to see there's so much more to come. There's so much more, to your point, we're just taking off. And I can't wait in some aspects of the word, because I can't wait to sit back to where you are and just watch all these memories of everything. And I think it's just so phenomenal you were able to share everything with me. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's exciting. And I hope a lot of the people that are watching obviously got to listen and to really soak it in and could feel the emotion that we have in the room. Because it really is something special. Everything is what you make of it. And you could go to this and be miserable every single time and you will get nothing out of it. But if you let this sport give you something, it'll give you a lot.
Absolutely.
It'll give you a lot.
It does. It gives you more than, I think people think, oh, it's just a sport, but it gives you so much more. So much more. You learn so much from it.
100%. Awesome. Well, thanks, Heather. We really appreciate having you on. So this has been the episode of HITSZN with Heather Durkee. She's been a seasoned cheer mom with a daughter who's got 1.5 years left. We've had a lot of exciting conversations back and forth, just trying to understand her perspective, and hopefully it brought you some light.
This is the one where you cry a little bit.
Yeah. This is tear season. This is tear season.
Not tear season, for sure.
Exactly. Well, good luck this season.
Thank you.
And good luck to Gigi. And we'll catch you guys on the next episode of HITSZN. See ya.